We're obviously accustomed to seeing you up here on these big cards, but I don't think your opponent was kind of the name a lot of us assumed you would get matched up with. So when they came with, a name like Xiao Long, what went through your mind? Did you know anything about him? And if you didn't, have you since gone back and kind of looked at tape on him?
Yeah, Xiao Long is a warrior. He's every fight he comes to win. Everything he throws is with the malicious intent to kill you. So I don't think a lot of people know him, but it's a huge opportunity for him to come. First fight in the States, first fight on a pay-per-view card, fighting a former world champion. So I expect the best Xiao Long version that's going to come out there, and I've been well prepared, super excited. Didn't know I was fighting him. My manager just called me and told me I'm fighting March 7th. So it doesn't matter any adversary they put in front of me. I just gotta control the things I control and just train hard and prepare for the best.
I think when I looked at his record, he made his pro debut the same year you were fighting Dom, but he has like 30, 40 fights already. So I guess, is that smart to just rack up that many fights that quickly just to get into the UFC?
Yeah, it's just able to do that, but with what competition? You know what I mean? Like if you're able to fight, if you're fighting the top of the guys, you're not able to do that. But they're growing. The Asian fighters. He's been tested through the road of UFC. Like I said, he's coming to fight. And I'm excited for that. That's the motivation that I need.
A lot of the embeddeds and the video interviews I've seen you do, you keep saying you're going back to your roots, and this is one of the best camps you've had in a long time. So I guess, how was camp, and what exactly do you mean by going back to your roots?
Yeah, this is the best camp I had in quite some time. I will keep continuing to say that, and that's the truth. Sometimes we come up here and you have to be like, oh, I feel great. This is an awesome camp, and you don't have that. So, it's great to be here fight week, to be healthy, to be excited to fight, excited to come and do all the media as well. There's sometimes I've came to this week and have not been myself. So for that, it's a huge confidence boost, knowing that I did everything that I needed to do inside this camp. Like I said, I got back to my roots, the wrestling, the boxing. It's just been great. Camp's been amazing. I've had, some new coaches that came in, some new training partners that came in, and they've given me their all. They've showed up time and time again, and we've just been putting the work in, and we're all excited and chomping at the bit to get in there Saturday.
I also saw an interview where you said, upon reflection, being champion maybe wasn't all it was cracked up to be, just kind of outside fighting. So I guess, what was that experience like? Was that how you handled it? Was it about how people around you handled it? I guess, what was that time like for you?
Yeah, I would say a lot changed. A lot of people around me, I went from unranked to world champion the same year. So there's people that I didn't know that was in my circle, and just for what you did, what you had, right? So able to drown out the noise, drown out the distractions, the chaos. And this camp's been nothing but sole focus on what I need to do. And that's me showing up every day, honing my skills, and believing in myself. And this fight is going to show everyone and remind everybody who I am.
Let's kind of go off of that, and I don't know your goals, your immediate goals moving forward, but do you feel like, given how popular you are amongst the UFC fans, that you're always going to be 1-2 wins away from possibly fighting for a title or a top 5 guy just based on your name alone?
Yeah, definitely. That's something I worked hard for in this fight game to accomplish, to be able to be in striking distance no matter where I was at in my career. I went on a 3-fight losing streak. I got knocked out 3 times in a row, and I came out and delivered one of the best knockouts in the UFC history. And I'm fighting for a title the next fight. So backing up on that question, it's.
All right, guys. So I'm at the most.
I did that in the past. I looked forward to the next fight. Like, I win this fight, I'm going to fight for the title. It's all about being engaged, being focused. It's one fight at a time. And that's what I've gotten back to this camp. Each round, each session was like, living day to day. Putting the work in, the small deposits for the big deposit on Saturday.
And this is just last one for me, unrelated to your fight. You mentioned your wrestling background. What do you make of what RAF is doing right now? And is that something you would be interested in trying?
Yeah, they reached out a few times, so you know, they were trying to set up a matchup with Sean O'Malley next month. So you know, have his team reach out. We're ready to go. You know, we come out unscathed on the fight this Saturday, and we go to Philadelphia and strap on the singlets and go to work.
So you presumably, if he takes it, would be on the same card as Marab, Cejudo. So 4 like bantamweight champions this
Right.
fight.
Yeah. I mean, RAF's doing an amazing job. You know, the ambience of their shows, the talent that they're bringing in, to really catapult wrestling in a great way. Their shows are awesome. You know, if you haven't tuned in or watched, you know, I think you guys all saw Armin last weekend. You know, went viral. So, you know, it's great. And you know, it's for us to stay healthy. Not stay healthy, but for us to stay in activity. You know, a lot of times we can have months, years, you know, in between fights. So for us to go out there and still compete and still in martial arts as wrestling, to go out there and make some money. You know, they're paying the wrestlers really good as well, and they're holding great shows. So I'm excited to be a part of it.
Isn't a part of you just going to be frustrated that you can't actually just fight Sean O'Malley?
Oh yeah, I tried to get that fight for a while, and now that's, you know, it's, you know, I'm hoping that he'll wrestle me because he negated the fight for quite some time. We try to get that matched up, you know. So yeah, wrestling will be fun, you know.
You could do an arm and then just hit him afterwards.
Yeah, you can always do that, right?
Cody over here. When we look at you, you tend to look more in rest or more in peace instead of the Cody we used to see, who could be fighting anyone, anywhere, any place. I still think you would do that if it was necessary, but what changed the most in at least looking like you have a lot of rest in your head?
Yeah, it's great that you say that. I have a lot of rest in my eyes. I just had a daughter 2 months ago, so I haven't really been sleeping too much. But man, I'm so blessed in life. You know, I'm winning at life. I got an amazing son that turns 8 next week. I got a daughter that's 2 months. You know, my life's good. I have no chaos. You know, I grew up my whole life in chaos. And this has been a great camp where I haven't had any of that. I've just been solely focused on, you know, day-to-day training. And when I leave the training gym, I come out and I'm a father. You know, I'm changing diapers and feeding my baby bottles and, you know, helping my son with school drop off, you know, staying busy with his extracurricular activities as well. So yeah, it's just about balancing, you know, finding that balance in life, you know, never being too stressed out about a fight and worrying about what if and what could happen, just taking it day by day and just really enjoying what I've been blessed with. You know, 2 beautiful children, amazing woman that's, you know, just amazing woman that takes care of us and really turned my house into a home. And, you know, I'm just at a good spot in my life, and I haven't been there in a long time. And, you know, that goes into like having a great camp and being healthy and being excited. And I don't know the last time I've been excited for a fight. You know, it's been quite some time, and just training too. Like the camp was effortlessly, you know, it was effortless. The whole camp, you know, I got back to my roots, wrestling and boxing, and really trained hard. You know, the last fight when I fought Hany Barcelos, and I'm not taking anything away from this guy. He's a warrior. He got a lot of respect for him, but you know, I was dealing with some health issues with the vertigo, so I wasn't able to really push the way I needed to push inside the camp. I had 5 weeks to get ready, and I wasn't training before, so every day was a testing period of me going in there, hey, I can spar and be okay, or I can wrestle and be okay, hey, I can grapple, but I was still had the reins pulled back a little bit because I didn't want to offset the vertigo. And I went with a lot of specialists and doctors in the UFC Performance Institute, the team, the staff, really helped me out and rehab myself to feel confident to be able to go push and train the way that I train. And you know, in the last camp, I just didn't have that, you know, and it showed inside the octagon. I still felt like I did enough to win the fight, but it just wasn't my best performance as far as conditioning and being prepared for the fight. And this camp has been just send everything out, you know, sending it every day. And thankful that I'm healthy. I'm here healthy. I'm happy. I'm motivated, and I'm blessed with the opportunity on Saturday to go in, you know, get a knockout, get a bonus. And it's fighting in Vegas, so they pick me up at my house and they drop me off at the house. So it's nice. You know, I get to see my daughter, my son, my family before the fight, and they'll be there after.
Last one for me. When people talk about the greatest fighters on earth, they usually get Khabib, John Jones, the regular names. Me and my friends often say, give me Cody Garbrandt the 25 minutes against Dominic Cruz. Is that a reason, one of the reasons why you keep believing in yourself and believing like the guy is still there and I want to keep that showing?
Yeah, for sure. I was the best fighter for 25 minutes, so it's my claim to fame, right? No, you know, it's for me, it's a desire. It's the just the grit of doing it. You know, the unknowing. You know, that's why I love this sport. You know, I was a kid that dreamed of being a world champion. That was from a small town. I was dirt poor. I had no gym. I had nothing. You know what I mean? And I as a kid, you couldn't tell me that I wasn't going to be a world champion. So I was able to obtain that and do that. What to say that I can't do it again, or I can't go back on a run, or I can't, you know, find success again inside this octagon. You know, it's all about mental fortitude and overcoming adversity and just believing in yourself at the end of the day. And that's what this fight's about. You know, that fight, I have so much, you know, to look forward to in this fight. I know a lot of guys don't know, a lot of fans don't know this guy, but for me, it's the opportunity to go out and remind everybody who I am.
Hey, Cody, back here. Cody, I was wondering, you dropped some new merch last month. I was just wondering, what are those conversations when you're dropping merch on Valentine's Day when your nickname is No Love?
Yeah, you know, it was a good segue. You know, it was good, you know, No Love, and the Dime Industries was great with the artwork and got it out really fast. So they're a great company to work with, truly are. So yeah, it was kind of funny, you know. And so we kind of like played on, it was be a Valentine's gift, and it'll be, hey, a shirt for the fight. So it just kind of worked out that way.
Thank you.
Cody, it might sound like a weird question, but you talked about the chaos you've had throughout your life, and now you've kind of found not having chaos, kind of that calm. Was that tough for you to embrace that, to accept that? Because a lot of times, if somebody finds that, it worries them or panics them, and they want to run from it. Like, have you kind of experienced that at all?
Yeah, for sure. I always felt like I needed some kind of chaos in my life to feel alive, you know, because I've always been, since I was a kid, my life is full of chaos, you know. So, you know, when things are going good, you're like, oh, something's going to happen. You know, you kind of have that in the back of your mind. And I didn't have that at all this camp. You know, I didn't have it all. My life is just, man, so grounded and so just rock solid that it's, I didn't have that one time like, oh, things are going well. What's going to happen? You know, like something's about to, you know, shit's about to hit the fan kind of thing. I didn't have that. So that's a great question, you know, like I feel like just, man, I'm blessed, you know, like I get to go out here and fight. I get to go out here and live a dream that this kid had growing up that would do anything to be in this position no matter what, where I was at in my career, you know, like I feel like I'm living on borrowed time, just taking it one day at a time and just so thankful to be here. I truly am. You know, I love fighting for the UFC. I love going out there and you know, displaying the courage, the heart, you know, the dedication inside that octagon, win, lose, or draw. And at the end of the day, my family's going to be there and love me, and we're going to, you know, bounce back from whatever happens and move forward from whatever happens on Saturday night.
Here, Cody, over here. Looking back at your career and being a former champion, have you achieved all your goals in the UFC?
You know, if I achieved all my goals in the UFC, I don't think I'd be sitting here speaking to you. For me, it's, I don't know how to do without fighting, you know. I truly don't. There's times in my life that I needed fighting more than it needed me. You know, sometimes I always had that safe haven where I would go to the gym. Sometimes it'd be crawling back. Sometimes it'd be just, you know, needing to go to the gym for an outlet. You know, I truly believe fighting saved my life. You know, I have a lot of friends that are no longer with us, that are, you know, dead or hooked on drugs or in prison for life, you know, and I come from that. You know, my uncles and my father have been in and out of prison their whole entire life, so I truly believe fighting saved my life, gave me a purpose, you know, inside of the chaos, inside of the octagon. I feel at home. I feel at peace, you know. I think because the way that I grew up, surrounded by chaos my whole life, surrounded by violence, surrounded by a lot of negative things, I turn into a positive. And when I go inside the octagon, I'm just free, you know. And when I'm, you know, confident and healthy, there's no other place I want to be is locked in the cage and fighting for, you know, opportunity to catapult into a better position in life. That's where I'm at now.